We are starting with one tree, a chainsaw, and no money. Can we have a successful farm? Let's find out. So with only one tree and a chainsaw, there wasn't much I could do, so I started cutting down this tree. So with no tractor or trailer, and there's only one way to get the wood to the sell point, I started hauling wood one piece at a time. Finally, after getting all the wood up there, I sold the first tree for just over $1,900. There, I decided I'm going to plant an $800 spruce tree, two of them for $1,600. After a while, I had enough of this and I was going to lease me a tractor. I found me a Massey Ferguson 37 horsepower, which I was able to lease for $242. I was also able to pick up this log skidder for $382. So after hauling up a couple more trees, I learned that this tractor was not powerful for what I was doing. So after selling them and getting it over $1,800, getting our bank account up to $2,500, I decided I am going to go upgrade our tractor. So after returning that old tractor, I was able to pick me up a new John Deere with 66 horsepower. Right away, I knew this was the tractor for the job. I was able to pull twice as many trees, twice as fast, and was able to sell them for $5,000, which brought our grand total up to $5,200. So I invested that money immediately back in putting grass down so we can have more trees to harvest. After a while, I was ready to sell all but two trees, which I sold for just over $9,000, bringing our grand total up to $9,100. So I invested that money into not one, but two greenhouses. So after selling some more lumber, I was up to $6,500. I decided to spend $3,000 of that on a much needed water tower. The remaining balance of that, I was able to find me a water/milk trailer that I was able to lease for $25. So with $4,000 remaining, I bought me a $2,000 tent, and there wasn't much left to do for today except going back to the basics. So that's what I did, was cut and haul trees. So after doing that for a couple hours, my bank account went back up to $6,700. So I decided to invest in another greenhouse. I woke up the next morning early because we have a lot of work we need to do on the farm. First thing I decided to do is check on the greenhouses, and then I need to cut down two more trees. Those two trees brought me just over $3,900, bringing our grand total just over $7,500. After shopping around, I was able to find this nice 3-bottom plow that I was able to lease for just $61. Getting back to the farm, and it's just 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to spend this day plowing our first fields. After a little over 9 hours on the tractor, we have created 2 fields ready for crops. And having just over $6,000 in the bank account, I decided to invest the rest of the money in trees. After that being said, that just left our bank account at $266 for today. The next morning, I woke up to see that I had negative $59 in the bank account. So, before I could do anything, I checked out my greenhouses, saw that we had our very first pallet of strawberries. My next focus was to get all these trees processed. All of those trees brought me just over $22,000. This was great because the next greenhouse that I wanted to invest in was the maple syrup farm, which I was able to purchase for just over $17,500. So after an hour of hauling water and filling up the greenhouse, I went over and I activated it so we could start producing maple syrup. The remaining amount of money I spent on was just replanting our trees. I then headed to the field to continue the work on plowing our fields. So while taking a break, I was able to find this nice cultivator that I was able to lease for just $51. So after getting it back to the farm and starting off, I decided to hire me a worker so I could take the time to process yet again some more trees. I worked until I could not see anymore, which was just a little after 7 o'clock. The next day we awoke being $99 in the hole, but not to worry because we have wood to sell. So I checked the greenhouses, saw they have plenty of water. I noticed that we also have our first pallet of tomatoes, plus we also have 3 pallets of strawberries with 2 pallets of maple syrup and plenty of water left in the system. I then hopped on the John Deere to finish cultivating the field that we were not able to finish last night. After finishing cultivating the field, I decided to head over, hook up to our log skidder, hook up to some trees that I cut the day before to take them to the sale point. That got our bank account just over $11,000. There, we decided to go buy at the seeder, not lease it, but we were able to buy a nice John Deere seeder for just $6,000. The seed cost me $800 for 1,000 liters. So I filled the seeder up, headed to the field, and once at the field, I decided to hire a worker, and I spent the rest of the money on trees for future income. So I got that front field planted in soybeans. I took some trees to the sell point and got our bank account back up to just over $6,000. Now I'm cultivating this small field to plant yet some more soybeans. I finished planting just in time, right before the rain really settled in. So I took the seeder to the farm and spent the rest of the time processing trees. That was able to bring our bank account just over $16,000. So I invested just over $11,000 of that into our own sawmill. So for the rest of the day, I hauled lumber until it was nice and full. I activated both the wood planks and the furniture. And before I knew it, time to go to bed, and I was wore out. I woke up, saw we had a case of lettuce, 2 cases of tomatoes, and more strawberries. We also have 2 more pallets of maple syrup. I then headed to the shop. At the shop, we were able to find and buy this planter for $4,500, leaving me just enough money to put 1 tree in. So with only $500 in the bank account, I started cutting trees down. In a couple of hours, I was able to make just over $16,500. So I headed to the farm to drop off the equipment on the back of the tractor. Got back to the store, hooked up to our new planter, bought a bag of seed for $800. I loaded up the planter and headed to the field. Once at the field, I hired a worker. Then I went shopping. I was able to find the exact tractor we have on lease now, and I had the money to pay for it. So I bought the tractor for just over $14,000. I also bought a 3-bottom plow for just over $1,200. The rest of the money I invested in trees for future income. So I got in my tractor, hooked up to our new plow, and headed to the farm. Once at the farm, I lowered the plow, and I was going to spend the rest of the day plowing up a new field for us. I woke up to see that we had a negative bank account, but that didn't stop me. I did the morning chore, checked the greenhouses, see we had more tomatoes, and yet again more strawberries. No surprise at the maple syrup, we had yet again 2 more pallets. After that, we headed to the field to see what our crops needed, and we needed to spread fertilize. But before I got on that, I wanted to hop onto the John Deere and finish plowing the field from the day before. All right, guys, we're on our way to the store right now. We got that field finished plowed, and we took some trees to the sell point to get our bank account a little over $15,000. We are in the need to buy a trailer. All right, we are going to hold off on the trailer because on the used vehicle sale mod, there is a tractor for 49% off, and they just want a little over $5,700 for it. After scrolling down and seeing we could put a front loader on it for $1,500, we were able to buy it for just over $7,000. The front loader itself cost us over $3,800, and we were able to find a set of pallet forks for just over $800. And finally, we were able to pick up this weight for the back of the tractor for just over $300. So we got on our brand new tractor, hooked up the front loader, hooked up to the pallet forks, then the back weight, picked up our bag of seed, and headed to the farm. Dropped off the bag of seed, and then we took the tractor to the sawmill. Parked the tractor and headed back to the store. Once at the store, I was able to find this homemade sprayer for just over $1,400. I also wanted to buy a container of liquid fertilizer and herbicide. The only problem is we didn't have the money. So I hopped on the tractor, headed back to the farm, hooked up to the log skidder to cut yet again more trees. In a little over an hour, I was able to get our bank account a little past $6,000. I dropped off the log skidder, hooked up to the sprayer, bought a tote of liquid fertilizer for $3,200 and a tote of herbicides for $2,400. Filled the sprayer with fertilizer and headed to the farm and started spraying the fields. Once that job was done, I was back at the store. I came to buy me a trailer and I found a nice small one for just over $3,500. So I hooked up to it and headed to the sawmill. Once there, I parked it, hopped in our brand new tractor and started loading up the sawmill pallets. Before I knew it, dark, and I had a full trailer that I will take to the sale point first thing in the morning. But it was late and I was tired and I headed off to bed. I woke up early today because today is a big day, but before we do that, we might do the morning chores. After doing the morning chores, I headed to the sawmill because all our planks are ready to sell. So I headed to the store. All right, pulling up here for the first load, we are going to get just over $5,000. Had this one that didn't want to go out. Then it fell outside the sell point. I'm like, I will get that on the second load. All right, here with the second load, I'm going to drive into this pallet and get that sold. And then all these are going to sell, bringing our total up to just over $18,000. But while I was up here at the store, this trailer is way too small. So I pulled in and returned it. I backed up, picked up our log skidder that we left at the store, and I was going to spend the rest of the day taking logs to the sawmill. The next morning, I was able to get all those logs to the sawmill, and I was able to start plowing another field for next year's harvest. But the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to hop on the Massey Ferguson and we're going to head to the store. I was able to find this pull behind 30-foot trailer that we can use to load our pallets on, costing us just $9,500. So I backed up to it, hooked it up to the tractor, and I started headed to the greenhouses. So after getting all the pallets loaded up onto the trailer, I headed back to the store for one more purchase. I was able to find an automatic loader trailer for just $6,500. So I bought it. So I hooked up to it, and this is what we are going to store all our maple syrup that we have been producing. How the trailer works is if when I pull up to this pallet, it should start just like it is, automatic loading it into the trailer, making cleaning up all these maple syrup pallets a breeze. After that, I parked the trailer and headed to the field to finish plowing the field. After we finish plowing, we're just going to spend the remaining of the day taking trees to the market. All right, guys, it's been a month and have our bank account changed. We got nearly $50,000. We did that by selling trees or selling the pallets and furniture that our sawmill produced. But let's get today started. So let's start by doing our morning chores. After getting the morning chores done, I headed out to the field because today is the start of harvest season. So let's head to the store and see what combine we can get. Alright guys, I'm really liking this Massey Ferguson 3640 combine that I'm able to lease for just over $1,400. The header that I'm going to need, I'm able to lease for just over $300. So I hopped in our combine, hooked up to our header, and headed to the field. Once at the field, I wasted no time and I started. But I decided to hire a worker because I need to go load the trailer from what our greenhouses produce. After finishing load the pallet, I threw a couple straps on there, hopped on the John Deere, and headed to the store to go look at trailers. I really like this cloth trailer that holds up to 22,000 and it only costs a little over $1,000 a lease. So I hooked up to the trailer and I headed to start unloading our combine. After getting the combine empty, I wanted to invest our hard-earned money into more maple syrup production. So I bought not just one, but two, leaving us just over $14,000. So I parked the trailer and headed to get our water tank. Right away, I knew we outgrew this water tank. So once this get done filling, I'm going to head to the store, return this, and buy a bigger water tank. I was able to find a water tank that hold 8,000 liters, but it costs $25,000 and we only have 1,400. But I was able to lease this for just over $1,200. Just like that, took no time to get everything we owned watered. So I headed to pick up the trailer to unload the combine so we can finish this harvesting season. Our first year of harvest brought us just over 11,800 liters of soybean. But with nowhere to store them, I took them to the sell point to get a grand total just shy of $7,000, bringing our total network up to $10,000. With nothing else left to do, I parked the trailer and I headed to combine these three fields into one. So I hooked up to the plow and I started because this is going to take the rest of the day to get finished. All right, guys, it's been a month and have our bank account changed. We got nearly $50,000. We did that by selling trees or selling the pallets and furniture that our sawmill produced. But let's get today started. So let's start by doing our morning chores. After getting the morning chores done, I headed out to the field because today is the start of harvest season. So let's head to the store and see what combine we can get. Alright guys, I'm really liking this Massey's Ferguson 3640 combine that I'm able to lease for just over $1,400. The header that I'm going to need, I'm able to lease for just over $300. So I hopped in our combine, hooked up to our header, and headed to the field. Once at the field, I wasted no time and I started. But I decided to hire a worker because I need to go load the trailer from what our greenhouses produce. After finishing load the pallet, I threw a couple straps on there, hopped on the John Deere, and headed to the store to go look at trailers. I really like this cloth trailer that holds up to 22,000 and it only costs a little over $1,000 a lease. So I hooked up to the trailer and I headed to start unloading our combine. After getting the combine empty, I wanted to invest our hard-earned money into more maple syrup production. So I bought not just one, two, that's just over $14,000. So I parked the trailer and headed to get our water tank. Right away, I knew we outgrew this water tank. So once this get done filling, I'm going to head to the store, return this, and buy a bigger water tank. I was able to find a water tank that hold 8,000 liters, but it costs $25,000 and we only have 1,400. But I was able to lease this for just over $1,200. Just like that, took no time to get everything we owned watered. So I headed to pick up the trailer to unload the combine so we can finish this harvesting season. Our first year of harvest brought us just over 11,800 liters of soybean. But with nowhere to store them, I took them to the sell point to get a grand total just shy of $7,000, bringing our total network up to $10,000. With nothing else left to do, I parked the trailer and I headed to combine these three fields into one. So I hooked up to the plow and I started because this is going to take the rest of the day to get finished. I woke up a little after 9 o'clock and I headed out to see if the corn was ready to harvest. And yes, it was ready to harvest. So I headed to the store. While at the store, I looked under the used vehicle sales, and to my surprise, There was a Kubota tether that was 49% off for just $5,600. Knowing that I want to get into cows and sheep, I thought this would be a great buy, and that's exactly what I did. Now, the combine I had my eyes on was this Bison Super ZO56 that I was able to lease for just over $2,300. The corn header that I was going to need, I was able to lease just shy of $1,000. So I got on the combine, hooked up to the header, and headed to the field. In no time after all, I was unloading our first load of corn into the trailer. In just a couple hours, I was able to harvest our whole field of corn. And with nothing left to do, I took this combine straight back to the store so I wouldn't get charged any extra. We were able to produce just over 18,000 liters of corn. But unlike what I did with the soybeans, I decided that I was going to leave the corn in the trailer until next month when I could sell the corn for the highest that it would be all year. So I parked the trailer, got fuel, and hooked up to the tether. I decided with nothing else left to do, I was going to take some of the logs that I sawed from the day before to the sell point. With the final load of lumber, that brought our bank account just over $15,000. So I decided that money was going to be used on our living situation. So I sold the tent for just a little over $960, and I ended up buying us a silo house that cost us just $10,000. I did place our silo out farther than any fields in order to build a big farmyard and fields around it. But enough, let's go inside and look at our new silo. We have a kitchen and couches to watch TV. When we go upstairs to the right, we have like a little study room, an extra bedroom. This is our bathroom, which is the tub, which had a shower, but I can look out, see our future farm one day. And then up here on the left, when we go in, this is the master bedroom. And when I look out this window, I'm going to see our whole farm. Fields and sheds, the future of our farm. But guys, I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to enjoy my new house. With it being December and not much to do on the farm, I decided to sleep in and do the morning chores a little bit later. But now that that's done, let's head to the store, get on our John Deere tractor, and sell that corn harvest. With the corn being sold, that brought our grand total up to just over $46,000. And since I no longer need the trailer, I went to go return it. And while at the store, I decided to see what was on the used vehicle sale. And lo and behold, for 67% off is this Field Creator, which I was able to pick up for just over $3,900. Also, while at the store, I was going to lease me this stump grinder for just over $1,300. So I backed up, hooked up to our stump grinder, and headed to the farm to start getting rid of all those stumps we collected. And in the course of a year, we have collected a lot of stumps, and this is going to take some time. After we returned our stump grinder, we hooked up to our brand new plow and took it to the farm. I dropped off the cultivator, and I was going to invest the remaining $42,000 in a silo. After some time, I found the perfect location, which I was able to buy the silo for $10,000. And with $32,000 left to spend, I was able to find this 150 horsepower Case I-8 tractor. And after some modifications, I picked it up for just over $30,000, leaving it with just $1,300. So I got in the John Deere, headed to the store to sell this tractor. Selling the John Deere brought our bank account back up to over $10,000. With that being said, let's go check out our new tractor. I hopped in a tractor and headed to the farm. I'm going to spend the rest of that $10,000 on much needed landscaping around the farm. And just like that, we only have $300 in our farm account. But the landscaping around our sawmill is done and looks great. Not only that, the landscaping around our 3 maple syrup productions are looking great with brand new roads. And just like that, guys, that is going to end our first year on our farm Let me know what y'all think in the comment down below, and see you all on year 2.